All right, our first guest is Deborah David, a chartered accountant, certified social and emotional intelligence coach, trainer, author, and of course, currently the Chief Financial Officer of African Circle Pollution Management Limited. And she's also the founder of the Workplace channel, where she has been acting as a career mentor to young professionals and female executives since 2012. Of course, in a recent book, she assures that career professionals have all they need to take quantum leaps to the peak of their career. Welcome to the show.
Thank
And
you.
hope you're having a fine Monday.
Yeah, sure. It's starting off well. Thank
Yes,
you.
that's what it's supposed to be like. So, of course, I already teased people about the topic, and the topic is barriers to effective communication and how to fix them. Especially in the workplace, if we don't effectively communicate, or if people don't effectively communicate, causes a tons of problems. So, what is usually the major challenge to? Well, first, what is effective communication? Because I think that's the most important definition ever. What is effective communication?
Good question. Thank you. Effective communication is that the receiver decoded what the giver of information wants. Like I said, get me a cup of water, and you come with a cup of water, not the cold instead of the hot. So if I need a hot water and you have gone to get me a cold water, I had not effectively communicated, because then hadn't defined the kind of water that I want. So a place of no confusion, no assumption. That is effective communication.
So, like we said, the topic is barriers to effective communication, how to fix them. So, what are some of the barriers?
Yes, a lot. The first I will talk about is culture. And in culture, I mean socio-cultural issues, which borders on language, borders on religion, ethnicity, background, and all of those things. So, if, for instance, in some culture, if you look into the eye to speak, you come as someone who is too forward, right? And there are some people that, if you don't look at them directly in the eye, it looks like you're not confident. So it all depends on how you understand the receiver of information. Let's look at the workplace, for example. There are many generations in the workplace. So part of the things that culture will handle is also the language. The language, the age, the religion, those things that they are not on the surface, they are not written. Culture is a way of life. And you get into a place, for instance, at the time in my career, I was in KPMG, right? And in KPMG, you would go well and be okay to call anybody by the first name, regardless of their rank or whatever. But if you come out of that space and get into other settings, it was not the culture, you know, to call anybody by first name. You will go sir, you go ma. So you have a barrier where you haven't addressed somebody properly. How do you fix that? You know, you seek to know. For instance, when I got to one of the places where I changed my employment, I asked the lady that was working with the MD, how would you like to be addressed? And then she said, Mrs. X. So that made sense to me, because in the course of my career as well as an auditor, I realized that when we went to client side to do one thing or the other, there were some people who had resistance, you know, giving us information and doing stuff with us. And the problem later I found was the fact that you hadn't addressed them in the way they preferred to be addressed.
So these issues, how do we deal with them? Because it's a workplace. You would assume that everyone does not come with airs in the workplace. You want to be able to get the work done. And as much as, yes, there's the age barrier with them in terms of communicating. Some people like to be addressed as Sama. Some people like to be addressed as Mrs. or if it's no Mrs. So how do we get past those challenges on a day-to-day, people who are watching, who are trying to navigate that workspace?
Yes, I'll put it in two buckets. One from a corporate perspective, two from an individual perspective. From the corporate perspective, it's important that when new people are onboarded during induction, they are told, because culture most times are not the things that you read in the personal policy. They are not the things you read. They are those things beneath the iceberg, but they make your work well. And then so the organization should be upfront in letting people know what's acceptable and not acceptable, right? And at the end of the day, you know, it makes the work go faster and work well. On the part of individual, it's important to seek to know. Assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. So if you get into a new place, find out how people are doing things, step back and observe. Because observation is the first law of intelligence. So you don't come with the mindset of where you're coming from and assume that it's acceptable everywhere. So you meet someone, before you start saying hi and doing somehow, and already all your information has been blocked because of the way they were addressed. So seek to know, ask questions, observe properly, and then try to be open-minded yourself. You know, you don't have to say the world should be the way you see it. The world is the way the world is. So someone says, don't call me by my first name, you don't have the right to insist that you will call the person by the first name.
But if you're operating in an industry where the culture is very simple, I mean, and you're coming from an environment, I'm just trying to imagine if you were someone who, a very serious person, and it's coming to an environment where everybody's hi, BC, Benga, what's up? Even the bosses, David, what's up? You know, that kind of thing. Yeah. How do you navigate? How do those kind of people, how do they navigate that space?
Yes, I'm assuming that you are that person.
No, I'm not. Not me.
Somewhere, and the person has come for counseling or coaching and said, I am not in this new space and all that. So I'll ask the person, what is important to you? If it's progress, communication, advancement, harmonious workplace, then you have to make the shift. You get what I mean? So you can insist on your own way. If, for example, you know that there are still many ladders, you know, a lot of people still have to speak for you to be promoted. So you have to seek to learn. So if everybody is doing first name and you have come with the seriousness, find a way to fit in. Co-opt somebody in that system to guide and to mentor you. Mentoring doesn't really mean they call you up every morning. It just shows that you can always ask questions, you have access to that person, you can sense check. Oh, this person that I want to go and meet, if I call him Mr. Femi, will he be okay? Say, no, don't just say Femi, Femi is fine, you know, so you don't miss your steps. So find a mentor in the organization, someone who is very familiar with the system before you arrived, and let them give you guidance on what to do. If you are very confused, go to HR.
Sure, that's always HR is always the first point of call in dealing with people.
Yeah.
And I think HRs always have some sort of, this is how you relate when they onboard you into a company. What are also some of the other things that prevent effective communication in the office space?
Yes, another thing is mindset. Again, the world is the world. But people see the world the way they see the world. The way you see the world is actually not exactly the way the world is. It's just how you have chosen to see it. I mean, I'll give you a story of a man who had an accident and fell and then was taken to the hospital. The doctor worked on him and then did some surgery. After the man recovered, he started shouting, my leg, my leg. And the man said, no, it's the after effect of the surgery. You know, 2 days after, the man wouldn't heal, and another doctor came in, did another check, because that physician was used to dealing with general, and said, okay, this must just be a pain you have to deal with. And then the nurse came one day and then asked and said, did you have any fall on your leg? Was that an impact? And he said, well, when they were trying to rush me to the hospital, it looks like the door, I didn't come out fully before the door hit my leg. So the lady started applying some massages to the leg and all that, and he healed up. Why am I saying that? The man who deals as a surgeon has a filter. Any case that comes to him is a surgery case, and perhaps the aftermath. But the nurse who deals with all of those things, perhaps you just first ask a question in that line. So the meaning is, you have come from a background of affluence. You perhaps are the firstborn, had everything you needed. So you come to the office as well, you just think everybody should get what you're saying. So you speak, but your sentences are not complete. So you expect people to go figure out. So that's a big deal in communication when people are not patient. Apart from that, you also have people who are very bad listeners. And that's what I mean by mindset. That comes sometimes maybe because of superiority complex or inferiority complex. So that mindset there that you should get it now. Or another mindset that says, I don't know whether I'm needed here. I don't know whether my information is useful. And instead of speaking up, asking questions boldly and reasonably, you go, well, when they need me, they should call me.
True. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. And of course, a lot of people who work in the place, some of these things are things that are prevented them from really, you know, also we have the personality differences, I'm sure, that prevents people from actually communicating well. But because of time, thank you so much. And I'm sure that people are watching are able to find which one applies to them and are able to work on it to help them effectively communicate. We'll definitely have you again because people need to know these things to be able to effectively get the best of the workplace. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll take a break again, and our next guest is going to be talking to us about everything arts and entertainment. Don't go anywhere.